Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about 10 different countries that aren't necessarily hockey destinations. Now, the countries themselves have an international team in the International Ice Hockey Federation as a full member or part member, depending obviously which team it is, and also have a club league or clubs in another league that isn't their own country. So that is what we're dealing with today. The other criteria was that I hadn't visited there at all. So I haven't been to these countries at all. But stick with me, they are brilliant destinations in themselves and varied. Most of them will be European, unfortunately, that some people may have never heard of these countries because they probably were countries only until about 20, 30, no, about 35 years ago at least, at the earliest. But we'll soldier on. First country up is a country that normally I would associate with football and Formula One motor racing, with the Hungaroring. So there's a clue. And the only F1 racer I can think of that is Hungarian in history was Zsolt Baumgartner, who only scored 1 point in his whole F1 career. And that was with a Minardi Formula One car, which these days is normally known as the AlphaTauri team, thanks to Red Bull's buyout in 2005. Anyway, it is the country of Hungary. Now, you can write your own jokes, I don't really care. But the Hungarian people are very proud people. Now, this country, of course, does have some hockey players that play mostly long in Europe. They have their own league, which is shared with another country will come up next, which is called the Erste Liga, which this country, Hungary, has at least 4 teams in, and the other country has 4 as well. So basically, it's a very competitive league, and they do have a few representatives, of course. But I can't think of a Hungarian NHL player, but I can think of football players from back in the 1950s, such as Ferenc Puskás, who used to play very well for the world famous Mighty Magyars team, which were the Hungarian national football team. So Hungary, very good country. Food and drink, I've never tried them because I can never get close enough to the restaurant that the Hungarian restaurants are around, because half the time they're very far away in places I can't park a car, or basically the time I want to go they are shut down because they can't make the money. Anyway, the next country up, which is funny enough another Eastern European country, basically both used to be socialist countries, but this country, very well known for a famous person who basically has been charged with a terrible crime, which I won't tell you about. But with sporting terms, it's normally football that they're known for. And the most famous football team in that country was Steaua Bucharest, or Steaua Bucuresti, which used to play in basically the Romanian League and play in the European Cup competition, which now is the UEFA Champions League. And they won it in 1986, one of only a handful of times an Eastern European side had ever won it. I'm talking about Romania. Yes, it's a country that you would like to avoid due to one certain person, or two, depending on your viewpoint, but it's still a great country to visit. Very beautiful views, the wine apparently is very good. I've had the beer from there, the food's very good, people are friendly. But then again, so many Romanians still live in my country. But I've got no problem with that. If they love living here, doesn't matter who they are in the world, wherever they've come from, they love living in this country, perfect by me. I love it. But Romania, very good country. They do obviously play with, their club sides play with in the Erste Liga, as I said, with the Hungarian sides. And obviously the Romanian team is worse than the British national team in hockey, and we beat them the last time in the Division 1 playoffs to get back into the top division of the World Championships for next season. So GB is on the up, but then again, most of our GB squad seems to be full of Canadians who basically have GB parentage or were born in Great Britain. So the next country you normally would associate again with football, but it's not a country you'd think that really likes hockey, because there's two problems. One, it's very hot during the summer, and two, in some parts of this country, it's very cold during the winter, which would be very good if you were basically indoors. And also, number three, obviously this year they had a very bad earthquake, and obviously quite a lot of people unfortunately passed away from injuries and everything sustained. I'm talking about the country that's more commonly known as Turkey, or Turkiye these days. Now, Turkey is a country, obviously football, there are three teams that dominate the Super League. They're all in Istanbul. One's called Fenerbahce, one's called Galatasaray, and one is called Besiktas. And they've won nearly every single Super League trophy since the formation of the league. But in ice hockey terms, they have 8 teams in the league, the Turkish Ice Hockey Super League, and there is one of the teams that plays in a shopping mall, or a shopping centre as I would call it. Now, this particular team, I can't remember the name of, have played in that shopping mall since about 2008. So pretty much a similar situation to the Glasgow Clan in Scotland, the Hartford Wolfpack, the New York Rangers affiliate in the AHL, and of course the original Hartford team, the Hartford Whalers, which are now the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, of course, the food from Turkey I've had, in this country at least, from Turkish restaurants, have been hit and miss, but the hits have been very good. Beer, however, not so good. And going back to Romania just for a second, mainstream beer, quite good. Craft beer, very good. Next up, country you wouldn't associate with ice hockey at all. You'd normally associate it with rugby, or cricket, or something else, like sheep, for example. And no, I'm not talking about Wales, because I've been to Wales so many times, I'm surprised they haven't decided to give out passports to everyone who's gone across the open border. I'm talking about New Zealand, and yes, it's a country full of sheep. 55 million, in fact, and also 4.5 million people. But New Zealand is more than just a holiday destination too. They have their own ice hockey league for the men and the women. There are at least 6 teams in both leagues, but they're still trying to expand. But unfortunately, due to some city councils not wanting to build hundreds of millions of New Zealand dollars worth of white elephant buildings, let's say, that would house a rink, why don't just try and retrofit a building? Save money in the long run, I think. But I'm not a builder, so I don't know. New Zealand food, I've had lamb, because most of the frigging lamb in this country seems to come from New Zealand. Beer-wise, good beer. Can't really say anything about that. Speaking of other countries that had good food, this country hosted the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, which is north of its capital city by 50 miles. And its women's national hockey team basically collaborated with its northern neighbours that really are communists. Which country am I talking about? Now, normally most people associate it with just the peninsula itself, but I refer it to as South Korea. Now, South Korea as a nation, of course, is very democratic and very peaceful and very safe. Food, fantastic. Beer, on the other hand, there's some good beers from the mainstream breweries, and craft beer as well, very good. But the thing is, of course, hockey, they only have one club team for the boys, and it's the Anhang Steelers, I think, or the Pohang Steelers. I can't remember, because half the time I keep looking at the same things every time, and I can't even remember sometimes. And they play in the Asia League, which normally is full of Japanese teams. So Korea, very good holiday destination to go to, good food, good beer, and hockey. They have their own national team, of course, for the men and the women. Next up is a country you'd normally associate with, funny enough, going on holiday, if you are an American, a Canadian, or a party-hungry person on spring break, like going to Cancun, for example. But this country is more than just a holiday destination for drunken teenagers. It is more than just well, crime that keeps happening there. It is a country which has got superb food, and the people are very welcoming. Well, the Mexicans I've met in this country. But it's one of those places you would love to go, but you have to be very careful. But this country is Mexico. Viva la Mexico! Now, Mexico is a country, of course, sporting terms, the biggest sport there is football. Now, there are many Mexican footballers who've played very fantastically across European leagues. But in England, they don't always play very well, because the Mexican food isn't as good as it is probably at home, for them, at least. But Mexico, a very good country, and their league only consists of 3 teams, but the distances between them are quite long, and it's very easy to organise their league. 3 teams. What do you got to do? Just basically say, right, we'll play each other 3 times, 4 times, however they feel like. Doesn't really matter for them. It's not like they're winning any prizes playing elsewhere, and they're not playing against AHL, ECHL and other sides from the US and Canada. Next country, now you wouldn't associate this country with hockey at all, even though it is a Eastern European nation. But here's something you probably don't know. If you are an NHL fan of the Colorado Avalanche hockey team, you will know that you have a man called Alexander Georgiev, or Georgiev, depending on who you ask. Now, Mr. Georgiev was born in this country, Bulgaria. However, his dad is Russian, so he actually is a Russian national. Not a problem, unless you're Vladimir Putin. But Mr. Georgiev was born in Burgas, which is a very nice destination, according to a friend of mine, Anthony, who is from Bulgaria himself. I have actually eaten Bulgarian food. It's very nice. Beers, not the greatest, but there's some good craft ones. Mexican beer, I forgot to say, is very good beer as well, if you look for the right ones. But Bulgaria, they have 8 teams in one league, and they all play in the capital city of Sofia. Some people say Sofia, it's Sofia. That's how they pronounce it in Bulgaria. If I'm wrong, then I'll link my friend's telephone number just to piss him off as a joke. The next country, again, is another Eastern European nation you wouldn't associate much with hockey, normally with football. And it's not the Netherlands if you just caught a flash of the flag. This country is normally known for football, and one of its basketball players, who sadly is no longer with us, Drazen Petrovic, who used to play for the New Jersey Nets until his death in 1993, was a very good basketball player. But this destination is part of the European Union, and it's got a very good coastline. And I've had some of their beers from this country, which are very good. Food, I've never had it, because there's no Croatian restaurants. And yes, I just said it, it's Croatia. Croatia, former Yugoslav Republic, has only been a country since 1991. I have been around since 1990, so that's how old I am. I'm older than Croatia as a country, officially that is. Official UN recognised country. That's just goes without saying. So, a good hockey destination. They've had teams in the past that have played in other leagues across Europe, including one of their teams that played in the KHL for a few seasons until they went by the wayside and decided to get back to the Croatian league, because not many people were coming to Croatia, where they were in Croatia. But there are 3 teams in the Croatian league. Again, very easy to organise. And Croatia isn't as large as, let's say, some of the other European nations. So Croatia, very good. Food, unfortunately, I've never had, so I couldn't tell you if it was good or bad. So I would say a good destination to go to on holiday. If you can find a good cheap flight from any other European destination, do use it and get it quick, because they won't stay cheap long. Next country you wouldn't associate with hockey at all, because climate-wise, it's very warm for most of the year. During its own winter, which being in the southern hemisphere, it's normally still warm anyway, but during the night, apparently you need your gloves and your hat and your scarf, depending on how far south you really are. And I'm talking about South Africa. South Africa as a destination for sport is normally associated with football, rugby and cricket. Now normally cricket, they're a very good side. Rugby union, they have won a world championship at some point, unless I'm very wrong again. No, they have won a world championship in rugby, 1995, which if you want to know how that went, buy the film Invictus. I'm just saying that as a suggestion. You can obviously, if you don't want to buy it, just don't buy it. I'm not sponsored by any company or country in this video. So South Africa, a very good place to go on holiday if you like sunshine and something else. But in hockey terms, they hosted a Division 3 World Championships, I think a year or two ago, and they had, I think, Bosnia in their group, I think. And of course, South Africa's South Africa. They're not that good at hockey, but they have their own league as well. They have 3 teams, which obviously with the distances apart, very easy to organise, but very long distance travel. So, and the beer and food, I'd have to say very good. What I've had, biltong, is very popular for South Africans. As well as literally the beer, quite good, standard stuff. And finally, the final member, which you've just seen, is Estonia. Now, in sporting terms, it was very hard to come up with what was the most popular sport in Estonia, for me personally. But just looking on Google, you could say that Estonia is a country that is normally founded on football or motorsport. Now, with motorsport, they've only had 2 people that I can really talk to you about, because the other one I don't even like. The third guy, this is Juri Vips. Not going to talk about him because he's a wanker. The other 2 guys I can talk about. Marco Martin, who used to be a World Rally Championship driver, unfortunately he quit after the death of his co-driver in an accident in this very country of all places. And it wasn't really his fault in some ways, but I'm not going to talk about that. But that was in 2005. But then he coached the next protege of Estonian rally driving, Ott Tänak. To spell his first name is very easy, O-T-T. No joke. Ott Tänak was a rally driver in the 2010s that basically came out of nowhere from the junior ranks, and then decided to bring his own private car with help from M Sport Ford in the UK. And then he won his first rallies. Then he was hired by Hyundai in 2020 after winning the 2019 World Rally Championship, the first ever Estonian to win the World Rally Championship, and still the only one to this date, and also the first person that wasn't named Sebastian or was a Frenchman to win the World Rally Championship since 2004. Just imagine that. 2 people called Sebastian, both French, 2 different people, and they've won the World Rally Championship or any championship between 2004 and 2009 and 2018. That's astonishing for everyone to think. But then again, we're not here to talk about motorsport, hockey. So in ice hockey terms with Estonia, they do have obviously a national side, not as good as some of their neighbours, like Latvia for example, and Lithuania. But the league is, funnily enough, a bit of a mixed bag. They have their own ice hockey league called the Hockey Liga, I think, or something like that, with a sponsorship on there. And the league has 7 teams, 5 of them from Estonia, 2 of them from Latvia. And no, Dinamo Riga did not apply. So, Estonia. The only thing I can say about Estonia as a nation, with regards to its cuisine and food, a mixed bag from its neighbours and its own part of Russia even that is next door to it, because it borders Russia. So, cuisine-wise, I've not tried it. beer wise, I've only ever had one beer from this country. It's called Viro Beer, and you'll know straight away by looking at pictures of this beer that the bottle is not the same shape as a Budweiser one, or whatever favourite beer you have. Anyway, so that wraps it up, and I've been talking to you for 20 odd minutes now, so I'm sorry for taking your time up. So 10 destinations that you wouldn't necessarily think were hockey destinations. So if you've enjoyed this video, smash the like button, subscribe and all that good stuff, and hopefully I shall see you in the next video. But at the moment I'm struggling for ideas because I've got other things sadly on my mind that aren't hockey related. So guys, I bid you farewell from a very hot and warm England. Now I apologise if you could hear a fan going, it's been that hot all day.